Are you ready? All right, that sounded ready. Do the thing.
All right. Hello again. Carrack trailer. So anyway, I was just going to say, hopefully you guys have had a good day so far. There's been a lot of really cool panels. I think Tony Z's last one was pretty cool. It's showing you how we're going to have a very dynamic universe on a high level. And obviously the stuff we had with the various things like the Planet Tech V4, ships, characters, UI. So hopefully you guys got to see some of that. And the marketplace was great. You guys are always great. Well, this is the end. So hopefully we've got something special for the end for you guys. So last year, at the end of CitizenCon, I had the sort of road to release roadmap. As of last year, we said, well, we've achieved 7 of those 12 that we'd set out to do, starting with the hangar and going all the way to location persistence and Planet Tech. But since then, we delivered the OCS and band culling at the end of last year, which I think made a big difference on the client performance. We got a few things that we're doing this year. So if I go. So we've showed it, but Planet Tech 3.5 is what we did last year. Sorry, I'm behind on the... Can I not get this up here? Otherwise I'm going to have to look up here. Oh, forget about it. So we had ship purchases, ship rentals, which is actually quite cool because you don't have to buy with cash any of the ships. You can rent or purchase them with the money you're earning in the game. And we've also been shifting to quality of life, staggered development, which is, you saw a little bit of that in Alpha 3.7. We're more serious about that. So we've moved the teams to 6-month cycles. We're still delivering patches every 3 months, but the teams themselves get 6 months to work on their features or their content that will go into whatever patch they're sort of designated for. And I think it gives them more time to do good work and iterate and give you a better experience. And we're slowly working on aspects of the gameplay, in terms of, say, the feel of flight or the feel of combat. We're doing things like, Sean was showing the sort of theaters of war where that's a good sort of contained mode that will allow us to sort of fine-tune what's really cool about Star Citizen, which is sort of the mixed arms, the ability to be on the ground or in a vehicle or up in space. And so we are increasing our focus to make sure that the game experience now is, 3.7 I think is probably our most stable release today. But the game experience now is good, and then is just improving as we go on. So this is what's coming up next. So in 3.8, we are going to have the very first iteration of server-side OCS. And you guys didn't know it because we didn't want to spoil the thing, but the demo we ran this morning was running it, and this, what we're running right now, is running SOCs, and you'll understand why it's important as we get into the demo, assuming it doesn't crash, which, you never know. To let you know, so it's the first iteration of the server-side OCS. So we have server persistence in the session of the server. So the server, whenever it leaves an area, it streams stuff out. It remembers the state of all the items and all the stuff that was there at that time, but it doesn't persist beyond the server session. The bigger thing, which we've talked about in the future, is sort of the iCache, which is the full persistence. Hang on, what happened here? Weird. I don't know, it's not me. It's whatever's on this main screen here. I've got a black screen here and a black screen here. Anyway, so I'll talk about persistence. So, okay, now we're back up. So platform persistence is one other thing that we're putting in the 3.8, which is is basically a halfway house to the very full persistence, but the platform persistence is going to allow us to save off the alpha UEC that you've earned. Also, any items or ships that you've bought or rented in the game are going to... So they're going to get saved off to the platform in the same way that we record all your shop cash purchases. And so when a new release comes, we can re-entitle it back to the account in the same way we do for everything that you do. And the plan with that is to not have to wipe between iterative releases on a major release, and potentially even from one release to the next. And we do reserve the right if there's like a major issue or a major rebalance, or we have to redo the database on a major release, then at that particular time we may have to wipe it. But in general, the goal is to let you guys make money in the game, earn things, collect things, and not have it wiped every time we do a new release. So we're aiming to ship that. That will hopefully be, that should be with the 3.8 patch cycle. And now Planetech V4, which we obviously sort of unveiled at the beginning, and there was some really cool panels about it during the day, which I think is going to, just the quality of, not just Microtech, but going back to the old places like Daymar or Cellen is a whole new world. One of the focuses we got upcoming too, which we not particularly managed to show well this morning, is the social group gameplay, but that is a focus for us to make sure that the FOIP and the VoIP and the group gameplay stuff works well. It's important for us to get stuff working for, as Sean mentioned, for the Theaters of War, but just in general, grouping up with your friends in the universe, doing stuff. And so that is a focus, and you'll see us iterating on that for 3.8, 3.9, and onwards. More robust missions. So we've got some stuff coming up in 3.8 that is interesting. There's we're starting to introduce AI into some of the missions, like say the rescue the hostage on the 890, which we had in an ATV. We were showing a very early version of it that will be in 3.8, and there'll be some other ones along that line of missions, and that's multi-part missions, which also what we're showing is sort of an early version of a multi-part mission, what we showed at the beginning and we're going to end with here, that 3.9.40 onwards. Then, sometime around about middle of this year, I think, so full universe persistence. And that is the persistence that allows us to save everything, period. So you can take your coffee mug that you've got in the Carrack and explore on a planet and drop it in a forest, get back on your Carrack, fly away, and someone else could go to that forest and see that coffee mug, or you could come back and see it if someone else hasn't stolen it. And so and that iterates to every dynamic item in the game gets saved off. So basically, we save the state, it goes back to a cloud database. It's what we're calling the iCache. Of course, there'll be some stuff like, we want to be smart where like people can't like stack 1,000 turtles in a place. So obviously, we'll have some policies on the items. So at some point, when we're saving it to the database, we'll say, well, this is a low importance item. There's too many in this area. So therefore, and this one's been around too long, so we just won't bother saving that to the database. And then you'll just sort of be like, oh, someone came along while you weren't there and took the turtle or cleaned it up. But in general, usually, so the permanent structures. So one thing that gives us is the ability for you as players to go around the universe and ultimately, you want to create your own base somewhere, create your own homestead. You should be able to settle down and put a base there, and it will be recorded back to the iCache, and you can come back to it, and it will be there, and it will persist. And so I think the opportunity for emergent gameplay that comes from that is going to be fantastic, because as you saw with what Tony was doing in his presentation before, we're going to have dynamic resources in the universe we're also going to persist those. So they'll be finite, so there'll be only so much gold or hadonite or whatever it is on various moons or planets. And as they get mined out, then you'll have to find some other place to move to it. And there's a especially rich seam. I can see a group of players coming, setting up camp there and starting to mine the resources. And then I can see some other groups saying, oh, well, that's great. I want some of that. They show up, and you basically have two groups battling out. And then there's a whole business that's going to be involved in supplying more weapons or logistics or healing people or bringing, consumables that people need. So I think there's going to be this dynamic, evolving system that will be incredibly interesting and compelling, and I'm really looking forward to that. And that's enabled by the full universe persistence, which is, like I said, the full persistence of all items, ships, characters, and also persistent tracking of the resources. And then the last thing, which we won't, I think, get to by the end of next year, but we'll be very close to it, is server meshing. And so everything we've been doing up until then, and that's when I think everything fully comes alive, is the server meshing allows us to have a lot more players in the same area. But the work that we've done on the kind of server-side OCS, where you can change the point of view of the server arbitrarily anywhere around, and save off state is exactly what you need for server meshing, because what happens in a server, if more people arrive, say, I don't know, in New Babbage, and you suddenly go, we can only run 100 people or 200 people or whatever the number we can simulate on the server, and there's now 201 people, you say, okay, I'm going to spin up a second server. Here's another view onto New Babbage, and these players are on that, and you just keep on spinning up more to take on the load in areas. And so that's why we needed the server OCS and the band culling and the full persistence, and it enables server meshing. So that's the next thing. Once we deliver the full persistence, we're actually already starting to work on the network side of what we need for the server meshing right now. But we're really excited about that, because then that's going to allow a sort of dynamic, seamless universe that won't have the same player count restrictions. And by the way, we'll also, we don't know quite with server OCS what we'll be able to do, but we're going to start experimenting with some player counts in the future and maybe upping it, because at the end of the day, if we're not simulating the whole system and it's a smaller subset of that, we'll be able to have more players. So we'll see in the midterm if we get more players into a server right now, but longer term server meshing is what's going to allow us to really have a fully dynamic universe. And then on the smaller things that we're going to be working on is, obviously, I've talked about the quality of life. It's an ongoing effort for us. You're only starting to see the very, very beginnings of it. So we have some dedicated teams that just focus on the quality of life. We have what we call the vehicle experience team that we're working on things to improve how it feels operating and running a vehicle. I mentioned that there was a couple of things like the look ahead, some small stuff that we showed in the opening, but there's a lot more stuff to come, and also in terms of the feel of combat and all the rest of the stuff. We're going to be adding, obviously, more loops. I think next up we've got sort of fueling, refueling, fuel collection. Then it'll be salvage, more content, obviously, and then open up a bit. We'll see what happens. All right. So now we've done that, we're going to head into our demo. But at first, let's just recap and I'll get Todd Pappy up here with me, wherever he is. Hello, Pappy. Come on. There we go. All right. So, just in any good TV show, all right. So we're on the Microtech shuttle. to the lab. Need to get that.
Can we get the quadrant?
Right, and by the way, Glenn is actually on a AI flown ship here, and that is something longer term that we're going to be working on, which is AI doing things like taking a shuttle from a space station down to the ground, or various locations that you could go to without having to fly to yourself. So think of it as a bigger version of the transit system. And here's one of the things that I think Ian's talked about, we've talked about, is that we want to increase our range of, we have outposts, but they're pretty small. Correct. And we want to have points of interest that you would have in various planets or moons that you can have mission content in, things to do, and this is sort of this is a sort of first prototype of that.
Yeah, so basically multiple entries, multiple exits. Obviously with outposts, you got one way in, one way out. So for us, from a design standpoint, this allows us to build these in a modular way so that we can have different entrances, different exits, different room layouts, different mission content associated with it. From there, then we start looking towards towns and villages, and then obviously we have our main cities.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, this is sort of a prototype, first version of a sort of multi-part mission that we've discussed and thinking about doing in the longer term, not 3.8 obviously, but 3.9 or on beyond that. Of course, it's cold here in Microtech.
So you'll see, now that we've entered into the room, the temperature that the character feels changes, and he actually starts returning back to normal.
All right. So hopefully our trusty ID card still works. I'm willing to say it does. And if we take a look out the side, Glenn, out the window a bit, when you out the window out here. So one other thing, which we're going to get into a little further, but if we actually take a look outside, the other thing that we're showing here is dynamic weather.
Yes.
And so actually there is a ground snowstorm blowing in. Can you look out the window a little bit, Glenn? Or not? Glenn?
Glenn, can you look out the window?
Just take a look out the window quickly. So if you take a look, if we go take a look out here, it's where the trees, go to the left a little bit. Should be, I think. There, so you can see. So, all right, we carry on. So there's a storm blowing in right now. Come to that in a bit better. But the weather simulation takes into account the humidity, the wind, temperature.
Yes,
right?
All of that.
And it is dynamic. So it's set up. So not going to have. We've got a couple of elements still to come on the fully dynamic planetary weather, which would be volumetric planetary crowds and volumetric ground fog. We have a large amount of the pieces in place for our weather sims, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but let's carry on with our mission. So we're gonna go look for the data center to try and steal the algorithm.
So it says it in the demo, or basically in the mission briefing, that you're looking for server number 5. So we'll be looking around and getting closer and working our way over there.
And try not to be too conspicuous. And the idea with these kind of missions in the longer term is to have the ability to do like stealth gameplay instead of combat gameplay, so, solve some puzzles, yes. So it's not just going to be about shooting people all the time.
Well, and it's something that Tony and you and I have talked about a long time ago, which is basically breadcrumbs as well, so it opens up to other aspects.
So we want a sort of combination of sort of the procedural dynamic stuff that would be generated by the universe simulation that Tony was showing earlier, plus some more crafted, multi-stage, kind of more narrative missions, and they all get mixed in to give you a really sort of nice flavor and variety of things to do. So, like, we need to figure out a good way. We're going to we kind of know a good way, but as a game player, you would actually have to suss this out. So we're going to go back here in the maintenance area. And great. Very quiet, great.
Yes. In the future, obviously, the AI will have certain stims that they can react to, and audio is one of them. Having certain objects that the player places around would be another way to distract AI.
Again, there was things like we took Glenn's going to take his pour. There's like locks on the multi-tool, and we can pretend we're going to pour them off, or not. There you go. But yeah, the idea is, like the FPS, like the multi-tool has different modes. Cutting, could be mining, could be welding, repairing. In this particular case, we're just going to cut the 4 kind of hinges, locks off, so we can take the grate open and get through it. And again, this is, I think we've talked a little bit about, especially with something like whether the weather or the temperature, it's about taking like the physical inventory, taking the things you need. So do I need a tool to go and do something? Do I need to have an outfit that will keep me warm or protect me from fire?
And I mean, I think even with our combat and everything like that, we want people to actually think about what they need to do first.
Are you looking for the exit?
No, he's looking how to turn that off.
No, it's on the bottom here. Go down here. There. See that square? Move your cursor down. Oh, can you tab to it? Your mouse isn't working?
I.
Hit I. All right, Glenn's managed to crash. That can't be right, right? Come out, do that. That's one way.
There we go.
Okay, well done. So that's as you guys know, there's an inventory. There's a personal inner thought system, which is Richard is the personal inner thought with 3.8 or 3.9. 3.9. So that's sort of work in progress. But the personal inner thought is in 3.9, which allows you to access a whole bunch of actions or interactions that are sort of on you or would be your thoughts. And so that's a very early version that obviously for some reason is bugged, but we weren't actually meant to end up triggering that.
So we're looking for a data card.
And we're going to steal some data. Oh, there's a guard on that side. Just make sure you stay out of that way, Glenn. There you go. Okay, come over here. There we go. Take the data card.
You can take that one, or I think he clocked one on the desk, I think.
Okay. It was risky. Okay, quick. All right, back. There we go. And then maybe under here to get to the other side. And by the way, one of the reasons why, yeah, there we go. One of the reasons, obviously, why Microtech, they like this planet and it being cold is to essentially cool all their,
the server farms?
Server farms, yeah.
Yes.
It's like a big Microsoft. All right, let's try to get some data. And again, this is building block UI, right?
Yes.
So that's all put together by a designer fairly quickly without having to have Flash programmers or... Okay. Let's get it. Okay. Let's get out of here with our ill-gotten gains. Can't really go that way.
Yeah.
All right, let's... All right, I don't know. This looks all right. Ooh, all right, Glenn. Just pretend that you're blending in. Okay.
Do you mind telling us what the hell is going on? Hey, I'm talking to you. This is our project. You can't just freeze us out like this.
Right. Ooh, jeez. That was close. You almost put it on top of his... Okay. Oops-a-daisy. I think we better get out of here, Glenn.
Yeah. So we have non-lethal takedowns now.
Okay, let's get out. Yeah, it's part of so melee combat does ship with 3.8, and it's a lot more than just that, but it's non-lethal takedowns. You'll be able to fight.
To knock people out.
Get into fisticuffs. There's a whole sort of different levels of punch, left, right, block, left, right. It's all actually physically based. So we've grabbed something kind of warm, but we're not really ready to it. We've actually stashed a getaway environment suit. And Richard Trier, I want to bring up to the stage. So Richard's the lead designer on our actor feature team, and I'd like him to talk a little about what is happening right here and the beginning of the actor status system that will ship in 3.9.
So what you're seeing here is basically an extension of the room system, and the room system contains temperature, wind speed, humidity, and it basically amalgamates all of that into what you're seeing on the HUD at the moment, which is the apparent temperature. So the apparent temperature actually comes in and is part of our player status system. And the player status system is where you start to feel these environments, and the actual environments start to play into the gameplay. So you can see here that actually the physicalized wind, he's actually leaning into the wind, he's putting his hand up to try and shield himself, but he's not wearing the correct attire. So he's not wearing the correct equipment, because he's just basically grabbed the clothes and jumped outside, and as you can see, it's really cold. So he's starting to shiver.
A bottom side here, it is.
Yeah, it's like
minus
120 degrees Celsius. So obviously, you can only survive at least 2-3 minutes in that temperature. So he's actually starting to undergo hypothermia, which is part of our status effects. And hypothermia actually ties into the gameplay. So his heart starts to raise, his stamina starts to decrease, he starts to actually physically start to see, you'll see a whiteout, so he starts to become more sensitive to the light, and his audio will start to come in as well, to actually really sell that your body is shutting down. And the player status system really, it just incorporates multiple different things. So hypothermia is part of the temperature gameplay, and you're seeing the cold aspect here. But eventually that will be for heat, as well as other actor statuses as well. But you can see here, starting to see the other value on here that you see is the apparent temperature, but the other value is the body temperature. Now the body temperature is tracking your internal body, so, and I think it's, what is it down by now? It's like down at like 33 degrees
We forgot
Celsius.
to put the drop shadow on the thing. And so we're not in this suit. We actually have a suit that we've stashed in the cave, which we're looking for. The other thing that you may have noticed when Glenn was going to the third-person view, but we're working on environmental shader effects. So there was snow accumulation on the jacket that he wore. You notice, you go back and look at what it was when he got it and what it is now. And with that, accumulation is meant to be for things like snow, rain, dust, dirt, and that's something that we're looking to have in 3.9. So you really feel the environment.
The biome, basically your environment. So it'll build up over time.
Build up. So we better get a warm suit on, because otherwise we're going to essentially pass out and then die.
So this suit is actually cold, so hopefully when Glenn puts it on, you'll see actually that it's actually frosted, so you can see your actor's actually shivering here as he's putting it on. And this suit is the Caldera suit that we revealed in the character archetype talk, and this is an environment suit that's built for these extreme climates. He's really cold. He's really cold.
So you'll see the visor's frosted up.
You can see,
and
this is like getting into your car when it's frozen. It's frozen, and the visor's actually frosted up, your suit's frosted up, and as your suit kicks in, this suit has an operating range that can actually survive these temperatures.
So and if we go, and you'll see it now, because the same effects that we saw on the windshield, you definitely see
So think of it like your car.
So a visor, you're going to see, because it's a big winter storm, snow, slush that's warm in here as it's going out though, it's going to start to get slush, and what we're going to see is is tough. And then I think the other person that I'd like to bring up is Mike Snowden, who's the director of our visual effects, and his team is being responsible for all the environmental weather effects here. And this is what we're doing on the snow side, but it same could work in, a desert planet for dust, rain, and we've actually prototyped a lot of this stuff outside snow, but you're seeing the snow has been our first example. So I don't know if you want to talk about some of the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so this is all, the main thing about these effects is they're completely data-driven, so I'll put a lot of time into creating these rule sets. The way that we author the effects is completely different to anything we've done before, because we know that we can make beautiful looking storm effects, but the really cool thing about this, no pun intended, is that it's literally the data that the planet gives us, so this ties in with the Planetech V4, which obviously we're showing off today. It ties in with all the active status stuff, so it's like bringing everything together. So they look fantastic, but they're completely driven by what the game data is.
Yeah, the temperature, altitude, humidity, and so it's systemic, and it's
I mean,
and it'll be affected by time of day and other things.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, so the rule sets are things like temperature, even elevation, wind strength, wind direction, even angle. There's a lot of complexity in the rule set that makes it really easy actually for us in the long term to make the effects across all the kind of hundreds of planets that will eventually.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously you can see the effect of the winds on the vegetation. And as you see here, we're in fog. You see the snow. Our visor is getting, it's like you would be, in a snowstorm if you were skiing or out there. So we stashed the suit. We actually had a rover that we've stashed that goes in our Carrack.
So
we're looking for right now.
One of the things before we go on too far, the other thing is with the armors, you will run into planets that are outside your temperature range, and so you might last there for 15 minutes. But obviously, we want to make sure that it's very lucrative for you to be able to, go in there and risk reward gameplay for it.
Yeah, so be equipped. That's why you would have a big ship and buy different armor and store it. Okay, so here's our rover, which we've hidden with a little top, and this is going to be a much more larger example of the cloth interaction system. So, all right, Glenn, let's get the top off and get into the rover. Okay, we can drop it now. And again, that's an example of all the physics stuff coming together, the cloth interacting, the wind's blowing it.
And the wind itself here, one thing I wanted to call out is that the wind is different strengths depending on where you are. So if you're down in the tree line or in the troughs, the wind is a lot slower, and then as you get more exposed, that wind comes out. So it really is a dynamic environment.
And as you see, as we get into here now, the temperatures come up, the water's evaporating from our visor, and we have a clearer view. But of course, the outside of the rover now will have the effect on its canopy. All right, let's let Sam know that she needs to pick us up. After we've engaged the systems, I guess.
Welcome to Auec Space Industries. In the joint one, system check.
This isn't going to work because of the go-to setup. The go-tos break the dialogue.
I'm going to need a pickup.
Yeah.
Oh, hello?
Yeah, I'm going to need a pickup down the bottom of the hill.
On my way.
Okay.
Right, got it. We actually, that breaks in our system because we have a little background zoom to the right place, which doesn't actually do the server check right. So it hasn't streamed. And it's actually, you are seeing some of the stuff because this is in server OCS, so we don't have everything all the time now. So when things go in and out, we've still got edge cases, and that's one of the issues that we have to fix before server OCS haven't, but it'll be fine. So let's...
Also, this is Carius, so make sure you get a little noisy for Glenn.
Oh. All right.
Oh. Ooh, yeah, he's coming. He's coming.
see the fog starting to thin out now as we're going a little further down. That's
Yeah. So,
again.
like as we're further down, it's not quite as thick. The weather is not quite as intense. I know. He's scaring the shit out of me.
There he goes.
Show off, Glenn. Hey.
Good job, Glenn.
Yeah. I remember when it was almost impossible to get a rover into a ship, but now we can do it. It's great. And here's an example of, so we're talking about storage. So these are actually meant to be for suit storage. Still kind of early days on the stuff, so it's a bit wonky, but we put our suit in there. We need it. So the idea is that you would have suits and stuff that you would store depending on what you would need on different planets. Oops, hang on. We got a crime stat, and I think someone's shooting us from behind.
Yeah, I got a pretty hefty crime stat. We're gonna have to get out of here.
We're being tailed. Get to the turret.
Come on.
So this is our first iteration of ship AI in atmosphere.
Yeah. So we are being tailed by Microtech Security because they figured out that we've stolen the data and we're making a getaway. There we go. All right, come on. To our little turret. There we go. Okay, come on, let's get rid of it.
Hey, Sam, why don't you bank?
Alright, one more. Okay, come on, let's get him. last one. Okay, we got one more, right?
Was that all of them?
No, there's one more. Here he is. Yeah. Sam's basically flying the ship to try and give Glenn a good shot. All right. Come on, get him.
Regret that.
Muscle.
Probably not.
Don't make me take it. You gotta do it.
Go on.
See the storm in the distance.
Yeah, you can actually see a snowstorm in the distance there in the background. As we're leaving, that was where we came from. Do we have to kill them all to advance?
Yeah, you can punch it.
Okay, come on, Glenn. No pressure.
Joe, take him out.
I don't know what I was shooting at either.
Shoot it, shoot it.
Okay, Glenn, come on.
Did it take us this long? I don't remember.
Glenn.
There we go.
This has got skills after all.
Come on, Glenn.
Hey!
Hey! So why don't we get out of here, Sam?
Here we had our mission update.
We get it later.
Okay. Let's get out of orbit then. That's a bit. It's kind of. When we run these run-throughs, it did not take. That was the
No,
longest it's taken.
yeah.
It was. It's a bit
Good
nervous
AI.
on that one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to wait till.
You do a sideways, Glenn. It's kind of cool too. Just go to the sort of side and around. Get like side.
Glenn.
Yeah,
Side.
He's got it. He see the beauty. Microtech's very pretty. All right. When do we get the mission update?
QT.
Only Q2? Okay. Yeah, you can see that. Those are trees down there. Those dots. That's cool. So is okay. So now we're going to QT, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get it. Let's get going.
She's having trouble with the HUD.
No, it's not sad.
With the what?
It's
She's having trouble with the HUD.
Okay.
Just get up, and then.
yeah. Once I get out of atmosphere, it should
Yeah.
help. I hope.
It says flight systems damaged.
Right, but the
Yeah.
attenuated panel.
Oh, what's happened on that one?
Sam, can you hit B and do it? Can you hit B and do it?
Yeah, I think I can find it with B, hopefully. It was a sweat mark, wasn't it? Hey.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, so fucking, we got
I don't know what
that
happened.
whole we got to get the nav.
Yeah.
It's funny, that whole thing drives me nuts. Okay. All right. Do we have the mission now to go to Pyro?
Should be. Should be coming.
Okay. So when's it come? You don't need to rush, by the way, Glenn. But yeah. So should we get the mission now? What's that?
You should see it up top.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen it.
Hey, Glenn, can you check your
Mission status? You should have had the update for where to. I'm not sure if you saw it. Yeah, delivered to Ruin Station. There you go. So I told you we had the update of the mission. I guess we just missed it. Anyway, we got the data. We've now told where we got to go. We got to go to Ruin Station in. There we go. So here we go. Go exterior, Glenn. Exterior. There you go. Show it off. There you go. And this is in the volumetric cloud, the space cloud tech that we have. Same stuff that we're using for Squadron 42 for the coil, but as you can see, usable everywhere else. It's completely volumetric lit in, and it's beautiful. And here we're at the jump point to the Pyro system. Now, you don't necessarily need infrastructure for jump points, but the more traveled ones are the ones that used to be traveled, which Pyro used to be, but not particularly anymore, have what we call jump rings around them, and they help stabilize the jump point to make for a smoother jump. If you don't have one, then it's more difficult, and the entrance is harder or difficult. But sometimes you may want to try a sort of side jump point to get into a system, like if you're a smuggler, because the main ones would be more, essentially, they are like a checkpoint. It's like going through a border patrol or something.
It is basically a port. So when we're building the solar system, one of the things that we think about are entrances for, obviously, economy reasons, and you saw that with Tony Z's talk, of way to interject new things into the solar system. So around the Stanton jump points, the three major ones, we will have space stations, so that you can go and travel. And let's say you had a long jump point and you want to stop and basically drop something off there,
or refuel,
or do whatever you need to do. So we will have space stations around those jump points that you can go and interact with. Now, obviously, when you go into a little bit more lawless system, I don't want to say like building a wall.
Yeah. Well, in the case of Pyro, it used to be a regulated system that once they strip-mined it out, no one goes there anymore, and it's fallen sort of into a lawless state.
Yes.
And so this is not really this isn't a very often traveled jump point, but we're going to take it because that's where we have to go to head to Pyro Station. So as you can see, the jump ring, which is delineating where the point is, off in the distance, and Sam is going to line herself up for us to jump to Pyro system. And this is essentially sort of the infrastructure you occasionally would, you can have around. Some places would have bigger stations. But as I said, the Pyro route isn't a very particularly well-traveled one.
But also with this, I guess with the cloud tech, you see the possibilities of us going in and mining that. and then it affecting your radar, it being booby-trapped, all these kind of gameplay possibilities, I feel, open up with these unique points of interest.
Do you guys think we should open it?
Yes.
I think we should go. Let's do it. That's actually a super cool view. You see that one?
Oh, yeah.
How good that is. That looks awesome.
Yeah. Really?
Okay. So going through a wormhole is a little bit like riding the rapids. You don't really have much. You have lateral control,
But it's
a little bit
being
of
on a
forward, but you're
current.
being pushed on a current,
Yeah.
and you've got to keep inside the boundaries of the wormhole. And actually, if Sam gets a little close, you'll sort of see interference on his screens. And of course, Stanton's just going away in the background, and Pyro's coming in here. Yeah, and you can see there's actually a current that we put in the wormholes, and you sort of see the particles that are giving you the idea of where the center line current is. And you have to anticipate to keep on the course, because if you don't, and you go off and you go into the boundaries of the wormhole, you could end up just being spat out in just space in the middle of nowhere, or severely damaged. Go around, Glenn. Okay, so we are now in the Pyro system, and we streamed out Stanton as we were traveling, and streamed in Pyro. The other side, by the way, has got an awesome light on the side. Yeah.
Set a route to the ruin station, Sam. There we go.
There we go.
You ready?
All right, Ian. Hit it. Good job, guys. Good job.
Good job. We made it. No crashes. Woohoo! Close one on the interaction. Good job.
Good job, guys. Good job, man.
All right. Hang on a sec. I get another. There should be a slide that we go to. Not a ship, a slide. Come on. Where's the slide? There you go. Anyway, so in this coming year, we were sort of showing you what we're going to do. So we are going to have the Pyro system next year. Obviously, that brings in jump points. We're going to have dynamic weather. We're going to be, Microtech, you're going to get the planet itself in 3.8, but we'll be opening up new Babbage in 3.9. We've got moons of Microtech that come in, I think, in 3.9 and we'll be continuing on the development of SOCs and the iCache and the persistence, and it's pretty damn exciting. It's kind of coming together, and at the detail that I didn't think anyone thought would be possible. So, hopefully you guys liked it. So I'd like to give a big shout out to everyone on stage that's helped with the demo here. Glenn and Simon, Joe and Rob are backstage somewhere. Thank you very much. They did a great job. Todd, Mike, Richard, John, who I didn't pull up, he got lucky. He didn't have to go in front of people. Jared over there. We got, I think there's about 200 developers or so here from mostly the Manchester, but some the German office, some the Austin office, some the LA office. So thank you, to all the developers, because I can stand up here and you guys all clap and it's nice for me, but really I'm not doing all this stuff. There's a lot of really talented developers that do everything that you've been seeing here, seeing during the day, and they've worked really hard, and I think things like CitizenCon are one of the coolest things. So they get to come, they get to meet all you guys, they get to interact with people that are appreciating the work they're doing. So it's good, and I want to say thank you to all our developers because they work really, really hard and do a great job. And then we also have, obviously the event staff and the volunteers have done an amazing job with this CitizenCon. Wandering around, it's brilliant. Going back to the very first ones and to what we are now, it's amazing. But thank you to everyone that's put the show together. I think, I don't know what Leia is, but she was producing it, but she did an amazing job. David Roth, he did an amazing job. And everyone that did it on the support side. To everyone on our operations, support, marketing, thank you for CG. And then you guys, thank you so much for supporting this crazy dream that's getting a little more real every day. Thank you, really, totally. So everyone out there on the internet, everyone here, we couldn't be here, we wouldn't be getting to do this amazing stuff without your guys' support, so we really appreciate it. And I am very thankful. And I guess we talked about maybe, do you want to see the Carrack commercial one last time or something? And then we get some drinks, and I'll be there and sign things. And okay, all right, let's do the Carrack commercial. And thank you very much, everybody.
My father always used to say I had wanderer's legs. We all wonder, what's out there? But for me, it was more than that. A stranger in my own world, I set out to find my path. Through all my travels, through all the trials of the unknown, I came to realize that there was really only one thing I'd been looking for. A place to call